Hi everybody, I hope you're doing well. I was trying to make an at-home video, a tutorial of how I do my smoky eyeshadow, and kind of talk about it, but I am not a professional videographer by any means, and I dropped my phone like 5 times. So, I am a teenager of the 90s, and I feel like smoky eyeshadow became really popular in the 90s. However, I've never been someone who can carry off a lot of the liner look. Like I've never been able to. I kind of have deep set eyes, and so I have to work with that and not make that worse for me. And deep set eyes, if you add a lot of liner, it can make them look a lot smaller. So I have to try to find ways to do a smoky look while also opening my eyes, which never seems to be what the trends are. So I am going to put my camera down and I'll show you guys the shadows, and then I'll kind of talk a little bit about how I do the application, and we'll go from there. And I'll just start over with everything, like what I start on my face for the day. You may have to bear with me because this is a big time makeshift set up here. Okay, I just can't breathe too hard or I might knock over this whole thing. Okay, so the first thing I like to do is I cleanse my face, moisturize it. Then I use Dew Skin number 2. It's a very lightweight tinted moisturizer, and it's SPF 20. And then I mix it with the Instant Glow illuminating cream. And what I like to do, honestly, it goes a little faster, is wrong brush. I'll put a squirt or pump of Dew Skin on here, pump of the Instant Glow illuminating cream on here, and then I kind of just will dab it in my face and get it on and then start blending it in. I always like to blend from the center out because you don't really need a ton down here, like around your jawline. So I like to start here and then blend it out, and it's just a nice, even, light coverage. So that's my first step. Then my second step, I use my concealer pen. And this is what I was trying to go through in the video and wasn't able to because I kept dropping my camera. So it's a concealer pen. If you get it, when you first buy this, it will take a lot of pumps, so don't worry. But now that it's been used and it's full of concealer at the tip, I'll just pump it twice, and that's enough to make my lines going outside from the inside corner outside of my eyes. I'll do a couple under my nose, around my chin, and then up on top here. And then I finish with one going down straight down my nose. I like to start with dabbing it in with my fingers, and then any extra around the outsides of my cheeks and the top of between my eyebrows here and down by my mouth, the corner of my nose, I use my little sponge. All right, so I'll have that base on, and then I start with my eyeshadow. Today, for this look, the first thing I used was the Beautycounter Classic Eyeshadow Palette, and I used Ivory first, and that's the only color I used from this palette today. I normally use this palette all the time, but for the smoky look with the grays, I went with mostly the Statement Eyeshadow Palette. And I like to keep my little papers. It just keeps everything cleaner for me. So I used that, went all over my eyeshadow, or all over my eyes. With this brush here, this is not a Beautycounter brush. I've had this brush for a really long time. I can't remember where I got it. This might have been, honestly, when I was in Dallas, and I may have gotten this from Laura Mercier, possibly. But I love it. It's really thick and fluffy, so it's a really good one just to go all over my eyes. So I used that. Then I grabbed one of my Beautycounter brushes. It's just a little bit of a smaller, little skinnier version of what I just used. And I used Nightfall, which is this medium color. And so what I like to do with my dark colors is I actually start at the bottom and I work my way up. And then I kind of blend. So I don't want a ton of really, really dark color and then have to blend it down and keep filling in. So I'll start at the bottom, start at the line, and then I just work my way up around my eye, and I work on kind of creating an upward angle with my brush as I go. And our Beautycounter, the shadows in the blush and in the pigment in the blush and the shadows is really intense. So it does not take much of that. Okay, so I got that on, kind of evened it out. Then the next thing I did is I used, let me find the brush I used. The really, really skinny liner brush from Beautycounter, and I use this navy here called Denim. I love this color. So I did kind of the same thing. I took Denim and I applied it along the line here on the bottom, on the top of my lash, and then I did the same at the bottom. I applied it at the bottom, and then I always smudge everything in. I don't like everything to look like thick lines for me. I don't want anything super defined on me personally. So I smudge it in and then I work it up and kind of around this little crease right here. And I did it on both sides. Went down, went over with the denim here, and then up and kind of into that crease. All right. So it's starting to give me a smoky look. Oh, and then I also took, I'm sorry, I had the Nightfall in my original brush that I used for the Nightfall. Whatever's left, I kind of went through and did a little bit underneath. So I'm a big fan of using shadow for liners as opposed to actual liner, just because I like to avoid the big line look. All right, then I went through and I used another Beautycounter brush. This one is more round, and I used the center color here, Cider. And with Cider, I applied it right here on the insides, kind of gave myself a little highlight, and then just blended it in a little bit towards my eyes to kind of open them up some. And I like starting from the bottom going up because it naturally blends my eyeshadow a little better. I don't have to worry so much about coming back in and blending in this crease as much. It's just a lot more natural. So after that, I followed up with my medium brown brow gel, and I like to kind of give myself a couple extra little wispies here to make it look like I have some brows going this way. Then I was trying to set this. So that was basically it for my eyes. Followed up with the lengthening mascara. This is new for me. I've been using the thickening, but this is the lengthening, and the wand is really skinny and I really like it. It's a good coverage. So from there I went to my blush and I used Date, and it is very pigmented, so it does not take much. I'll normally put a little bit on and then tap it on the edge of my sink. And I'll start in the apples and kind of blend it upwards. And then I like to, this is not a Beautycounter brush, but I've also had this one forever. It's a brush I use for my bronzers. Take the Beautycounter, it's called Radiant All Over Bronzer, and this is in Dune. Take that and I go a little bit underneath, blend that in on the top of my foreheads here. I like to make an angle on my jaw, and then a little bit on the outsides of my nose. Okay, so for my lipstick color today with my darker eyes, I want something a little bit natural. So I like going a little bit darker liner. So I used actually the medium eyebrow pencil, and I went just a tiny bit above my lip up here on the top, and then brought this color down to the bottom and brought it in on the corners of my mouth. So I have liner kind of coming in my lips. This color is called Changemaker. It is a very light pink. It's a natural pink, so I put that on top, and I felt like it was a little bit still too much, too intense. So at that point, I wanted something a little bit softer. I got my sponge back and I opened up my pen. I put a couple of, couple of clicks on my sponge, and then just dab that over my lipstick, and it blended in a little bit. And that reminds me, after I did my eyeshadow, I kind of did the same thing. I clicked my concealer onto my sponge and went through and around my eyes because I just wanted something to absorb the extra shadow without it looking too cakey or too shiny. I feel like sometimes too much concealer can make people look really shiny, or even myself really shiny. So that was really it. I'm missing something. I'm grabbing the wrong color, but this is not the highlighting. This is the contouring one. We have another one that's the illuminating pearl glow, and it's really pretty. I use that as my highlighter here on my cheeks and on my nose. And then I followed up with this color actually and put it at the tip of my nose to kind of, as Kim Kardashian says, shorten the nose. So I think that's it. I think it's what I did today. So I just wanted to show you guys. It's mostly just kind of talk about the eyeshadow and how I try to do a smoky look without it looking too defined. So, all right, bye y'all.